Welcome everyone to my channel where you connect, restore, and liberate yourself from emotional trauma. And today in this series, we're going to be talking about the sex chakra. Just so you all know, the bulk and pretty much dominant source of where I get this information from is from one of my main teachers, Master Choa Koksui, and from his book, The Chakras and Their Function. So this is the book if you are curious to learn more about Master Choa Koksui, the pranic energy healing system. You can go on to www.uspranichealing.com. And there you can find a whole load of resources, places you can take classes and courses I completely and totally recommend. All right. So the sex chakra. Where is this energy center located? It is located in the pubic area. Yes, where all of the, pretty much where your sexual parts are. So the sex chakra is the foundation of physical creation and the foundation of the physical world. So pretty much, sort of like it sounds and sort of like it is the foundation of creation. Hence, you're to get even here into this world, right? For instance, to be born, your parents had to have sexual relations. And with that energy, you were the result of it, right? So pretty much with that energy, you can actually use the sex chakra energy to create many other things. So you see a lot of artists and singers and, you name it, anyone just in a creative field of, graphic design. It doesn't have to even be so obviously creative either. It can just be just in areas in our lives where we bring things into creation that is pretty much the sex chakra at work. It is this lower energy center bringing forth up that to the upper chakras. And what I will go into in this current video is how the sex chakra and the throat chakra both work together into creating this. I won't go too into detail about the throat chakra. That will be in a whole separate video of its own. But just so you can kind of get the idea of how things actually do come into creation, we will just briefly sort of cover the throat chakra. So just a description. It has 6 petals and contains red prana of 2 different shades and orange prana as well. And this is something that has been clairvoyantly seen, verified, validated. You don't have to believe, but these from my teacher, Master Choa Koksui, and also his energy system, this is how he has verified using a series of different clairvoyants to confirm this, as well as many practices, many case studies that you can also find either on that uspranichealing.com or in the books that he's written. Okay, so in this video, we are going to cover the spiritual functions, the psychological functions, and the physiological functions of the sex chakra. So starting with the spiritual functions. All right, so the spiritual functions. A strong, healthy sex chakra is needed for spiritual development. Sex energy can be transmuted into love and spiritual oneness. Isn't that beautiful, folks? So yes, you heard correctly. Both of these systems, energy systems, energy centers, I should say, not systems, excuse me. The upper and lower, they work together. So pretty much it's not like they have their individual properties and functions, right? But they also work hand in hand with each other. For instance, how the sex chakra and the throat chakra work together, right? So you have the sex chakra, which is sort of like the force, the power, the energy, sort of like plugging into the line. And through the throat chakra, for instance, is how you bring it forth. It sort of concretizes that energy. So it's not just some wild, sex magic energy. It gives it like a structure to actually come into form. So that is how these work together in hand. So when it says that you need a strong, healthy sex chakra for spiritual development, it's sort of like the necessary fuel. Like as if you would put gas in your car, for instance, you need like the gas to help fuel the car. So that is sort of kind of how the sex chakra works in terms of our spiritual development. And in terms of this sexual transmutation from this lower energy centers to the upper energy centers, there are actually exercises and practices that one can do to properly transmute it. So you don't necessarily just have to go off and have sex and intercourse, for instance, with any or everybody. On the contrary, that's actually without a proper regulation of this energy, you can actually be expending and sort of wasting it instead of actually using it to bring into fruition what it is that you actually really desire. So, as I was saying, the transmutation of sex energy is necessary for one's spiritual development. The sex energy once transmuted provides energy to the upper chakra. So the sexual transmutation is necessary. And also, what you want to take into account is that you don't want to suppress this energy. The main point is to make sure that you are properly regulating this. There is a total difference. Even if you practice celibacy, it is just take into account your attitude towards sex in general. And if you have guilt, for instance, towards it, that's going to definitely impact sort of this flow of energy and how it is manifested into your life. You could be playing at 100%, but because of certain negative attitudes towards just this topic, it could be, in a sense, hindering you, inhibiting you from actually reaching that full potential. So, like I mentioned, sex energy is like food for the upper chakras. It's like that gasoline. Dame más gasolina is what these upper chakras are pretty much saying when it's requesting that energy from this particular lower energy center. And another fun fact about the sex chakra is sex energy is necessary for the proper functioning of the brain and nervous system. So whether one is celibate or not, transmutation of sex energy will be extremely useful. And to quote my teacher, Master Cho Kok Sui, especially from this book that I'm getting the bulk, if not all of the information for this series, is the practical approach would be the middle path, which is to consider sex as natural and healthy and to transmute sex energy. The transmutation of sex energy can be done solo without a sex partner. Sex is sacred. When it is done properly, it manifests as divine union of two souls, oneness with their higher souls, and eventually oneness with all. So if you look at the act of having sexual relations with another, right, with a partner, it is becoming one with this person, which in a sense is a reflection of the universal whole of just becoming one with all of consciousness. So what we do in the bedroom, even with or without a sexual partner, but it's just in this regard with a partner, is you are becoming one with this person if you're doing it properly. There's a difference between an actual divine union and making love and having this like amazing sex experience and interaction versus mutual masturbation, which I heard that term from another wisdom teacher, Teal Swan. And I thought that makes total sense. I think a lot of us just tend to end up getting lost in sort of this over sexualized society in a sense, because you see it everywhere. And it just turns to a matter of just trying to get off versus actually sharing and having this union with another. So in other videos or later on, I will post a video about how you can actually properly transmute sexual energy by yourself. So if you are interested in seeing something like that, please write in the comments below, post that transmutation, or post, if you want to hear about it. Okay, so let's get into the psychological functions of the sex chakra. So the sex chakra is the center of the sexual instinct. Duh. Persons with strong sex chakra usually have strong sexual drives. So, as I mentioned earlier on in this video, the throat chakra is the center for higher creativity, the higher correspondence of the sex chakra. So the two are closely interconnected. So, notice how our emphasis on the word correspondence here, right? There is a principle of correspondence, which what you do with one part of yourself impacts or affects another part of yourself. So what the sex chakra does, right, and how it's functioning and how it's whirling impacts the throat chakra and vice versa, because they are two very closely interconnected things. Also, artistic or very intelligent people tend to have very strong sexual drives and lots of sexual scandals. So this doesn't necessarily mean that all intelligent people or all artistic people get caught up in sexual scandals. But what it does kind of say is that when you aren't properly regulating just your energy in general, especially this energy center, how it can come out is, you see sometimes like these politicians or even holy, priests, and them sort of getting caught up in these sexual scandals because it just begins to build. And another thing to note in terms of just our energy centers in general, if one of the things in pranic healing that I've learned, which is an energy healing system, is that it is very important that you do practices like inner purification, as well as just cleansing, these energy centers. Because what ends up happening is, right, as you begin to, especially if you're on the spiritual path, because as you continue to evolve and grow, what happens is your energy centers themselves, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. So when you're not doing like your spiritual practices, like just sort of mindful meditations, also particular practices of just energetic cleansing, even if you're like saging or Palo Santo, even for that matter, what ends up happening is the things that were once small in these chakras, because these chakras were smaller, they also expand too as you evolve, as you grow, which is why you see some of these people who, get fame or like, constantly in the public eye, as they evolve, as they grow, as they expand, without something like a spiritual practice to sort of keep them grounded in themselves and to keep them cleansed and to keep them rooted. What ends up happening is these ancient seeds and whatever was small and dirty in these energy centers, they grow and they amplify. So hence you end up getting in a lot of sexual scandals and things of that nature. Okay, so that's what that kind of means. Like I said, it does not mean that all artistic people or intelligent people get caught up in sexual scandals, but without regulation, proper regulation, that can possibly happen. So It is not possible for a person to be very creative or intelligent and be sexually impotent or inhibited at the same time. So if you do feel like you've come up to like a creative block in your life, in your journey, if you feel that like, like you're intelligent, you're smart, but for whatever reason, it's just like you're not getting the material, you're not really getting like understanding in a sense, that could be a place to look and to just sort of check out like this energy center. Are you, facing challenges with impotency? Are you feeling like a lot of guilt in that area of your life? Like there is ways to properly release this and regulate and transmute this energy into something of an even higher source that doesn't even necessarily need like masturbation, or you have to engage in a sexual act with another person. There are exercises and brain exercises that can also do this very thing, which, like I said, if you're interested to see that or find out more, comment below in my comment section. All right. So to have sexual urge or desire is very healthy. Sex is a joyful activity. One should not feel any guilt about it. It should not be repressed, but rather should be regulated. So I've been sort of preaching this throughout the whole entire video so far. It's just proper regulation of this. All right. So next, let us get to the physiological functions. That's a word, right? Physiological functions of this energy center. So the sex chakra is the physical creative center for procreation. It's how we all got here. Yay. The sex chakra controls and energizes the sex organs, the bladder and the urethra. It also affects the legs, throat, and the head. So here are some conditions of a malfunctioning sex chakra. You can come up against urinary problems, impotence, sterility, enlarged prostate gland, and other sexual ailments like STDs, STIs, venereal diseases are just a few. Ultimately, a strong, healthy sex chakra is necessary for a healthy throat chakra, which is also responsible for the development of the mental faculty. So there you have it, folks. That is just a brief intro understanding to the energy center that is the sex chakra. Some also call it the sacral chakra as well. That's just how I learned it in my energy healing system with pranic healing. They refer to it as the sex chakra. And I hope it helps. I hope that it kind of gives you just some basic understanding. It doesn't have to necessarily be all about, like sex and Karma Sutra and all that stuff, which is also fun too in its own right. But just anything with balance, approaching it sort of like the Buddhas would say, the middle path, the middle way, having a healthy attitude towards this. Even if you do practice celibacy, it's still fine. You can still tap into this energy center. There is ways where you can definitely tap into the energy center with or without a partner, practicing celibacy. It's just all about your attitude and how you properly regulate this, and just sort of also your just mindful practices that you can do. Like it takes a level of discipline, sure, to really activate this and to help regulate this, but it can definitely be done. And as I mentioned a billion times before throughout the video, if you want to learn more ways on how to actually transmute this energy center to bring you close to oneness, to also concretize and bring into fruition what it is that you want to birth into this world, let me know in the comment sections. But until then, I'll see you next time.